the corona positive cases in the country has breached the 24,000 mark with 1490 new cases and 56 deaths being reported in just the last 24 hours. But the government, the centre and the top medical body claim that the lockdown is working and the lockdown is yielding results. And there was a ray of hope as well when an update came on the lowest growth rate. Yes, in the last 24 hours, the country has witnessed a dip as far as the growth rate of the coronavirus is concerned. Let's go across to my colleague Priya, joining us from the Newspit with the latest figures of the corona positive cases in the country. Priya, over to you.
Right. Swati, I'll start with a quick recap of the figures as you've already told our viewers before I move on to the analysis of the latest data that has come in. So this is where the numbers stand as of now. All in all, the total tally is nearing 25,000 mark, the number of cases that have tested positive collectively so far in India. But the number of active cases out of that total stands at 18,953, out of which 5,209 have been discharged or cured. The death toll is 779 cases, and as far as state-wise data is concerned, Maharashtra still remains the major area of concern with maximum number of cases. The tally right now stands at 6,817 total number of cases, and the number of deaths in this one state are now approaching 1,000, with almost 960 people that have been reported dead in that state so far from coronavirus. And here is an analysis as we've almost crossed the 1 month mark ever since the lockdown started. If I could just take you through the details that this map shows us, there is a day-by-day rise in the number of cases here. So as of now, we are around 25th of April, and as you can see, we've already seen the highest spike that came on 18th of April, and the numbers of cases that are being added to the tally each day is now coming down. When it comes to this red snake-like line over here, this is the total number of cases, and it is now approaching 25,000. But what is the most significant takeaway from this graph right here is this black line that you see, Swati, and this is the point where we are right now. And as you can see, this line was on the rise steadily, but now this curve here seems to have slightly approached the flattening line, which is what is the most significant takeaway. The lockdown, which came into effect around this time, 23rd of March, seems to have worked in the fact that this curve is approaching towards flattening, and if we manage to maintain the same
that's exactly what the centre and the top medical body also claims at this point in time. Priya, thank you very much for getting us the updates on the latest figures and of course the analysis on the corona curve. Moving on, as we see a dip in the growth rate, the lockdown curbs, restrictions are being lifted by the centre. Not all of it, but some of it. Some relief has been given to the Aam Aadmi. As the centre lifts up the restrictions, India, of course, is trying to limp back to normalcy from the corona-induced recession. In the latest guidelines issued by the MHA, permission has been given to standalone shops and neighborhood shops in residential areas to start functioning, to remain open, although it does not extend to parlors, theatres, restaurants or multiplexes and malls. Let's go across to our editor internal security, Nikunj Garg, who's joining us on the broadcast with more details about the lifting up of restrictions as per the MHA guidelines. We also have Deepak joining us from Bengaluru, Kajal is joining us from Mumbai, Prashant from New Delhi, and Shabir is joining us from Chennai. Let's first go across to Nikunj. Nikunj, as far as these restrictions are concerned, of course, the centre lifting some of them, trying to provide some relief, but ultimately states will take a decision depending upon the situation.
Well, absolutely, and I'm glad that that kind of leeway, the elbow room, has been given to the state authorities, including the municipalities of the country. Remember, we have to always remember that in a huge country like India, unitary style of functioning can never probably be yielding optimum results, and therefore to take each stakeholder on board, the municipalities, the state governments, the local administration, in whichever form they are there, if the municipality is not there, is extremely critical. And therefore, the government of India, learning the lessons of last 1 month of the lockdown, for the first time has made room for the local municipalities. And that's when we have seen that across the country, two gradations have come into place. One is municipal areas and another is non-municipal areas. So in the non-municipal areas, which means largely the Mofussil towns and the rural areas, all shops, including standalone shops, residential shops, all kinds of shops are now open except the shops that are in the malls. In the municipal areas where the municipalities are functioning, which are largely city-based areas, standalone shops in residential areas. And the big distinction there is that the market complexes, so if there is a market complex even in your neighborhood, that is not going to be fully functional. But standalone shops like dentists, like cell phone recharge shops, like school book shop, etc. can be functional. So this is a big difference this time. And adding on to it, post May 3, I can add to this that our viewers will get to know the state chief ministers after that meeting with the Prime Minister on 27th will get greater elbow room in deciding what shape and size the lockdown will take in their own each respective jurisdiction. So Tamil Nadu CM will decide largely for Tamil Nadu, Punjab CM will decide for Punjab. So that's what a big difference that we will see post May 3 in the national lockdown process of the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nikunj, stay on with us. Let's go across to our other reporters as well. Deepak is joining us from Bengaluru. Deepak, what is Karnataka's take as of now on these guidelines? Have we seen any impact or any change after these guidelines have been issued in Karnataka, specifically Bengaluru, since maximum cases have been reported from there? The metros have been the worst affected.
Due to COVID-19, it also was a state which had one of the largest number of COVID positive cases in the beginning, but now the situation has improved quite to a large extent. And we should also here note that at one point in time, while we had a situation where a large number of people were traveling from abroad here, but while they were being quarantined, the state. They were all put inside quarantine centers to ensure that they do not expose themselves to other people around, right?
Deepak, we seem to be losing your audio. We'll try and connect with you again. Meanwhile, there's a breaking update coming in from Maharashtra. We're shifting focus to that. A single day highest spike being reported from there. 811 new cases of COVID-19 being reported from Maharashtra today. 22 deaths also unfortunately reported from the state of Maharashtra, which seems to be the worst affected, the worst hit. Let's go across to Kajal, our Mumbai bureau chief, joining us with more details. 281 new cases in Mumbai alone, Kajal, and 811 from the state of Maharashtra. The death toll also going up.
Yes, 811, the highest single day number that the state has actually seen so far. The last time it was in 700s, and now it is 811. The BMC though is a little happy because the number of 281 is slightly lesser than the number that it has actually seen in the past few days. But the numbers keep dipping and keep going up here in Maharashtra. So unless there is a consistent trend of it going down or going up, one cannot really make a prediction when it comes to Maharashtra as of now, because there are several challenges that the administration is still facing when it comes to the quarantining, when it comes to isolation facilities, when it comes to number of beds, and also the amount of testing that is being carried out in the state. So some of the things are still a work in progress in the state, and of course the fact still remains that Maharashtra accounts for the maximum number of cases in the entire country.
Kajal, stay on with us. We also have Prashant and Shabbir with us on the broadcast. Before we quickly take updates from the national capital and Tamil Nadu, let me see if we can connect back with Deepak. Deepak, if you can hear me, go ahead. Finish your point. Okay, we still seem to be having a problem there with Deepak. Let's go across to Prashant now. Prashant, we had an update in the evening that the Delhi government is ready to comply with the MHA guidelines, but it won't allow, of course, any activity in the hotspot zones. And also, making sure that the lockdown norms will have to be followed, social distancing will have to be practiced. So as of now, Delhi government is okay to comply with the guidelines.
Well, there were some indications that perhaps Delhi government might open the shops from tomorrow, but there's no formal order as yet that we have received. We are in fact waiting for the health bulletin also. What we can confirm for viewers right now is that there are 95 hotspots. The number of hotspots have now gone up to 95, and in all these areas, even if the shops open in the other parts of the city, in these areas the shops will not be opening. There won't be any easing in the lockdown terms or the kind of crackdown that we have seen over the past few days. In these 95 hotspots, nothing's going to change. But if you talk about the numbers, Delhi today stands in the number one. If you talk about the recovery cases, the recovery rate of the national capital stands at number one across the nation, and that is something that comes as a good news for the people of Delhi. Also, the quarantine centers are being increased with every passing day. You have hospitals taking in more patients. Testing is being done aggressively in all the hotspots and also in various parts of the national capital. So clearly, the government seems prepared as of now to tackle the crisis. But if you talk about people on ground, today was the first day of the holy month of Ramzan. We were reporting from the Jama Masjid, and people there were seen following the lockdown norms. So clearly, people also now understanding that this perhaps is a pandemic that you also will have to play a major role in defeating. And as a result of which, we are seeing people actually being indoors, even in the places by-lanes of Jama Masjid, we didn't see a lot of people coming out. So this gives you a message that people have adhered to the norms of lockdown. They are listening to the government, and they know that at this particular time, if they won't comply with what the government says, if they won't fight it themselves, there perhaps could be no other way that we can defeat coronavirus. So clearly, we are still awaiting for the health bulletin, as I said, but for now, Delhi is on the number one if you talk about the recovery rate in the cases is concerned, Swati.
Well, that's encouraging. In fact, the plasma therapy also, the Chief Minister said looks like is working, and they would want to conduct some more trials in the coming days. Let's go across to Shabbir, who's joining us from Chennai. Shabbir, in Tamil Nadu, more and more areas have been incorporated into the hotspot zones now since cases have risen there, and a complete lockdown has been announced in Chennai, Coimbatore and Madurai. Is the government really in position to comply with the latest guidelines?
Well, as of now, there is no clarity whether the Tamil Nadu government will agree and comply with the guidelines issued by the MHA. But what we understand is that the Tamil Nadu is going in the opposite direction. There is a complete lockdown that has been announced in 5 major cities in Tamil Nadu, including Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore, Salem and Tirupur. These are the cases where more and more number of cases are being reported, and that is the reason why they have decided to go on a complete lockdown based on the advice of the medical experts panel that was constituted by the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. So they have recommended that there should be a complete lockdown in these areas to break the chain. And what happened today after this announcement came is something which is shocking, because all the measures that were put in place for all these days in terms of in tune with the national lockdown, those were broken today because there were huge number of people outside. There was panic buying all over the state, particularly in Chennai, where even in hotspots people were gathering in large numbers to buy essential commodities. So whether there are doubts that have been raised by the experts, saying that if people have come out in large numbers to buy essential commodities just because a complete lockdown is being announced by the Tamil Nadu government, whatever we have achieved in the past so many days, it could have gone wrong. So these are the doubts that are being raised by experts since after seeing what happened today. But as far as the government is concerned, they say that more and more patients are being recovered. At least 960 patients have recovered. That's a good news from Tamil Nadu.
But that's a bit of a relief, because the recovery rate is improving. It has jumped 20%, and that brings a lot of relief and hope for us Indians here. Shabbir, stay on with us. Before I go across to Deepak, let's play out that report which you sent us earlier. Right after the announcement of complete lockdown in areas that come within Chennai, Madurai and Coimbatore, people were seen resorting to panic buying.
Tamil Nadu government's decision to go for a complete lockdown for the next 4 days in Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore, Salem and Tirupur, 5 major cities, has triggered lot of panic buying. I'm here outside a grocery store, and right behind me you can see at a time there'll only be 4 to 5 people otherwise, but now it's now a huge number of people are standing outside, and similar scenes are being witnessed in several other parts of the states as well. In smaller markets, it's completely crowded, social distancing norms are violated, and people say it's because the Tamil Nadu government's decision to go for a complete lockdown in the next 4 days has triggered some amount of panic and anxiety, and that is the reason why people have decided to buy groceries and stock up for the next 4 days, and that is why there are huge number of people outside these markets. And these are scenes that can be seen elsewhere in Coimbatore, Madurai, or in any other places, and there are also other districts that have also announced lockdown, complete lockdown, based on the kind of announcement that have been made by the Tamil Nadu government for Chennai, Madurai, Coimbatore, Tirupur and Salem. As far as the Tamil Nadu government is concerned, a complete lockdown is required to prevent the spread of COVID-19, because Chennai has already reported 452 cases, and they want to ensure that there is complete lockdown in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. This also at a time when the central teams are visiting Tamil Nadu, so they want to ensure that the spread is further contained. And the lockdown was announced by the Tamil Nadu government based on the medical experts who have given their recommendation that the lockdown that was announced earlier is something that's still having its own issues. It's not being implemented properly. So there has to be a complete lockdown in place to break the chain, to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in hotspot areas, in containment zones, because those are the areas where more and more cases are being reported, and that's a huge cause of concern for the health department. And that is the reason why they have decided that they will go for a complete lockdown, and that is the reason why we see so many people out here. There seems to be some kind of panic buying that is taking place all across the state. But as far as the government is concerned, a lockdown is necessary to prevent the spread of COVID-19, and that is something that the government will try to implement in the next 4 days.
All right, let's go across to Deepak now, joining us on the broadcast again. Deepak, I hope you can hear me now and we can hear you clearly as well. You were telling us about, the Karnataka government. Is it in a position to comply with the new guidelines?
Well, we should understand, Swati, here that the Karnataka state was one of the first ones to actually report COVID cases, and also the first death in the country was reported from here. But after that, they've made some, very good progress in terms of containing the virus. But in the last few days, we've had some instances which were quite unfortunate, and which has also led to a little bit of an outbreak. Bengaluru, of course, went through 3 days without one positive case. But in the last couple of days, the situation hasn't been the same. We had violence that erupted in Padarayanapura, after which police personnel, health personnel, we also had people in that particular locality, all of them coming in contact with secondary contacts of patients who were tested positive, after which, we've had 32 police personnel who've been quarantined. We've had over 100 accused in the violence who've been, put in isolation. So things haven't been great in terms of, how they've contained in the last few days. But of course, as far as the situation in Karnataka is concerned, we have about 500 cases at this point in time. Overall, they've contained it pretty well. They've, already listed out green zones, red zones, yellow zones, and they're ensuring that as far as relaxations in terms of the lockdown are concerned, they operate alongside the zones. And at this point in time, though the MHA has said that certain shops can open, the state government has not relaxed everything. Bengaluru, of course, is known as the IT capital of the country. Initially, there was a decision that 30% of the IT, companies would be allowed to operate. They, ensured that they pull back that decision. At this point in time, only the essential people in the IT companies will be allowed to operate. We'll really have to wait and watch whether a cabinet meeting, another cabinet meeting, in fact, in the next couple of days will be held, where a decision will be taken in terms of further relaxations.
Right. Deepak, stay on with us. On one hand, we saw people resorting to panic buying in Tamil Nadu, in areas that are under the hotspot now, that within Chennai, Coimbatore and Madurai will see a complete lockdown. On the other hand, reports coming in from Trivandrum, where the vegetable and fruit markets were a deserted look, even though essential shops have been given the permission to remain open. Take a look.
I'm standing at the Connemara market in the heart of the city in Trivandrum in Palayam. Here, on a usual day, there used to be a large number of crowds used to throng into this particular market, and basically you don't have even place to stand. Currently, what you're witnessing is a deserted look. Very less people are coming over here, even after the holy month of Ramzan have started. Most of these essential items like vegetables and fruits which you see on the screen, these are essential items that has been brought from the Chala market, a wholesale market nearby, and it's been left unsold. What the traders say here is that very less people are coming here. Usually during these days, large number of people used to come here, buy these things, and there used to be a lot of business activity that's happening in these places. But now what you see is very, very less people coming into this Connemara market, which used to be a place where a lot of trade activity happened. Now, as you see over here in the shop just next to me, this is a shop that is exclusively selling items for the holy month of Ramzan. You can see dates, nuts, high quality nuts that has come from other places, even that has come from other countries also. But still, if you look at the screen right now, most of these items that has to be sold during the holy month of Ramzan looks unsold, because the problem is the people are now depending much on door delivery services, and also NGOs and other organizations are now up to providing these essential items at their doorsteps. And hence what you see in these markets now is that very less people are coming, mainly because of the COVID-19 scare. Most of the people are unwilling basically to go outside and purchase the goods, because they feel that even though the curve was flattened substantially in the state, especially in Trivandrum, which is in the orange zone, but still people are not taking any chances. You can see most of the shops are shut. Only a very few shops are opened at this point of time, and these shops which are opened are selling the essential items like vegetables, nuts, fruits, essential groceries and such items. So in such a situation, the trade activity, especially the business activity, has taken a big hit, and no doubt that is affecting the common man.
Let's also take a look at this report coming in from Guwahati, where journalists on field were tested.
After several journalists tested positive for COVID-19 in Mumbai, the Assam government is also not taking any chances. A free screening center for COVID-19 was opened here at the Guwahati Medical College and Hospital for all the field journalists of Guwahati. And as you can see, several field journalists have started coming here to the screening center to give their samples for this COVID-19 test. Even the Times Now crew members of Guwahati Bureau are here to give our samples for this COVID-19 test. Reporting from Guwahati with Pradeep Kolita, this is Arindam Das for Times Now.
With these reports and updates, we're taking a very short break on the broadcast, but a lot more coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.
The News Hour Special Edition will be right back after this break.
Welcome back. Amid uncertainty over air travel during the national lockdown, what we are being told is that Delhi and Mumbai airports are preparing for the post-lockdown period. There are going to be some major changes. We've accessed a report on what measures are going to be taken post the lockdown. Let's go across to Hina Gambhir, who's joining us with more details. Hina, how are the airports preparing? What are their plans?
Well, we can say that airports are desperately waiting for a go-ahead from the government, some sort of an indication as to when the domestic and international flight operations will resume. Now, why is it? Because IGI Airport or Delhi Airport, the busiest airport in the country, before 25th of March used to handle close to 1,400 flight operations per day. And since 25th of March, there have been none, except the cargo operations that are going on for the delivery of medical supplies and some other essentials in different parts of the country. And the airports in the country are now preparing themselves to reopen with all the social distancing norms in place. Very, very interesting details we have access for our viewers. As far as Delhi Airport is concerned, they are on a big disinfection drive. Deep cleaning of the airport, the terminals is something which is underway. So in a way, they are preparing themselves because once government gives them a go go ahead. They have enough measures in place to ensure that social distancing is maintained. Both the airports, Delhi as well as Mumbai, will be encouraging the passengers to use the self-check-in or web check-in facility as much as possible so that there is less contact with the crew members at the airport. Second, there will be specific markings on the floor. The work has already started, that's what we are being told, to ensure that enough distance is maintained when passengers are standing in queues to check in or to put their baggage for screening or any such activities. So proper markings on the floors are also being put. The seating arrangement is going to be quite staggered as well. Remember, DGCA before this lockdown was announced had given a circular indicating that the aircraft should ensure that there is one seat empty in between two passengers. That direction was for the airlines, for the aircraft. But now the airports are also using this kind of a strategy to ensure that there is enough distance between the passengers. And very importantly, they will ensure that the passengers wear masks and the crew members or the people who are working on the ground, the ground handling staff, the people at the airport, all have got masks on all the time. And lastly, there will be automatic the sanitizer dispensers is something that we are being told that IGI Airport plans to install at the airport so that there is as little human contact with various things that are there at the airport as possible. So these are the kind of measures that they are taking. They have given these to the government as well. We'll see when these services will resume now.
Right. Hina, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Moving on now to a breaking update coming in on this broadcast. SpiceJet flew Asian Games gold medalist Dinko Singh for his cancer treatment from Imphal to the national capital today, and the airline provided the air ambulance service free of charge to the Padma awardee. In fact, what we're being told is that this decision was taken by SpiceJet chairman and the managing director, who is also the president of the Boxing Federation of India. Let's go across to Madhav, who's joining us with more details. Well, SpiceJet took this decision to help Dinko Singh, and what a great way of reaching out to him during these unprecedented times.
Well, absolutely, Swati. Amidst all this news of coronavirus, all the gloom and doom news that we've been seeing, something very positive that we can look at: the air ambulance services being provided, and Dinko Singh, perhaps the only civilian in that sense, a Padma awardee, an outstanding sportsperson, being airlifted for his treatment of cancer to the national capital. In fact, shortly after the incident took place, we're also seeing the sports minister commending this act of air ambulance that provided to Dinko Singh, and certainly in these extremely citizens are waiting for services to actually be aviation itself, as you were discussing, airlines as well, airport operators as well as the air regulators, all of them very eagerly when the air services would be resumed, because as Swati, it's a hugely challenging cargo the air. The entire
running again, and even if when it does take place, there's no guarantee that it will happen for the third, but whenever it does take place, it will have to be a massive logistical exercise.
Well, Madhav, we are losing that line with you, but we'll try and fix that, and we'll connect with you again. For now, moving on, and let's talk about a very, very crucial meeting which took place. Decision is pending on when and how stranded Indians will be brought back. But a very key meet was chaired by the Cabinet Secretary on this issue on bringing back stranded Indians abroad. Times Now has accessed the inside details of the meeting, which was held with all the chief secretaries and DGPs of the state. The centre consulted all the states to bring back stranded Indians. As far as Maharashtra and Gujarat are concerned, they have emphasized on a 14-day quarantine period. Let's go across to our editor internal security, Nikunj Garg, and Madhav is also with us on the broadcast. Nikunj, a very crucial meet, yet so far the decision has not been taken, but it is going to be a very important decision of bringing back Indians who are stranded abroad, of course facing a tough time wherever they are. The government wants to reach out to them. It's just that they would want to first come up with a plan as to how and when that is going to happen.
Absolutely, Swati. Extremely critical decision. Remember, these are our fellow citizens and they are stuck in foreign lands for no fault of theirs. And it is the responsibility of a sovereign nation to ensure that its citizenry, wherever they are stranded, for whatever reasons, does not face an inordinate delay in its return. There can be delays sometimes because of unprecedented, unrivaled situations, as you have just described them, but inordinate delays are certainly not something that augur well for a sovereign country. And therefore, Government of India, seized of the matter, has been planning, has been preparing to ensure that the safe return of all the Indians stranded abroad does not also impact the citizenry here, which is back in the country, with an explosion in the virus numbers. And therefore, a top-level meeting at the Cabinet Secretariat itself, chaired by Cabinet Secretary Rajiv Gauba himself, was held. And various states have put forward their views. You said Maharashtra, Gujarat talked about a 14-day quarantine. Certain states said that we can't do with the foreign provided certification. We have to have our own certification process of COVID-free. So if somebody has got a coronavirus-free certificate from New Zealand, for that matter, that would not be acceptable to the states. Similarly, the hospital beds, the quarantine facilities, the airport standard protocols, the evacuation, the political clearances. Remember, when you will have to send your aircrafts to countries where these individuals are stranded, you would also need political clearances from their capitals. Most of the countries, that would not be a problem. Some countries, like apropos China, we have seen in the past that there have been problems. So all of that also needs to be sorted out. My sense is that the government is waiting for the meeting on 27th, which is coming Monday. All chief ministers, all administrators with the Prime Minister of this country, and then a firm plan can be drawn up for safe evacuation of these individuals who, as I said, are stranded in foreign lands for no fault of theirs.
Right. Let's also go across to Madhav. Madhav, this is a time of crisis across the globe. So one can understand Indians who are away from their homes, from their loved ones at this point in time are making desperate calls and flooding social media with requests, asking the government to bring them back. Also at a time when foreigners who were stranded in India are being sent back.
Well, absolutely. You've rightly mentioned it, and in fact, Nikunj also mentioned it there. Other countries, other sovereign countries are taking their citizens back in droves. Countries such as Germany have had at least 3 or 4 rounds of flights that have taken place, and that same goes for several other European and other nations who have all wanted, obviously, their citizens to be taken back to their respective countries. When it comes to India, there are 3 main geographies that we're talking about. We're talking about the Middle East, North America, and of course Southeast Asia, where largely Indians are present in huge numbers. Of course, there are pockets in Europe too, such as London and so on and so forth, where you have a large concentration of Indians present. But the entire logistical exercise, I've been also speaking to certain aviation experts, Swati, and what they also have said, the counter view also, rather than delaying, is that why not actually run a special aircraft to bring these individuals who are stranded abroad, either they may be out on business or leisure travel, or even maybe visiting near and dear ones, because at a time like this, when we have the entire infrastructure geared up to deal with this is perhaps the best time when they can be put in the 14-day quarantine and therefore can be very easily observed. Once you have the entire systems up and running, it becomes that much more challenging to pay attention and to find place to quarantine all of these individuals. Perhaps now is the best time to actually bring back the Indians from abroad.
Right, we already have brought back many Indians and a protocol was followed. So, of course, the others who are still stuck are expecting the same procedure, the same protocol to be followed. Thank you very much, Nikunj and Madhav, for joining us. In fact, we are on the broadcast joined by those Indians, some of them, in fact, who are stranded. Bhargav BC joins us now from Malaysia. He's from Karnataka, stuck in Malaysia. Mahima Gupta from Bengaluru, also stranded in Malaysia. And Anil Vashisht is joining us from Saudi Arabia. Good evening to all of you. Let me go across to Mr. Bhargav first. Mr. Bhargav, what we've been told is that a high-level crucial meet has been conducted where all the chief secretaries and DGPs of all the states were consulted, and soon there will be a decision on bringing back Indians who are stranded abroad. Does that give you a bit of a relief, some comfort provided with that development?
Hi, madam. Yeah, ma'am. At least now we are little bit happy that India is ready to accept Indians who stranded in Malaysia. So little relief we got, ma'am. So at least we are expecting from Monday what CM Modi is interacting with our CMs, so that we are expecting a good news from Monday's meeting. So we have since from 18th March we stuck in Malaysia. So every day we are begging to our PM, our CM to take us back. But no one was responded. Even in Malaysia, also, ma'am. Even in Malaysia, the Indian High Commission is also not responding properly. Just they are telling, just be in home, we will let you know, we will let you know. Since 18th March, we are getting same response, not only for me, ma'am, for everyone. Even in Malaysia, we came for an internship. We are stuck in Malaysia. But once think about pregnant ladies, ma'am. There are few pregnant ladies in Malaysia. I saw one video in Facebook. She is a 7 months pregnant, ma'am. Now she wants her mom. She can't go back. She's working in Malaysia. So she was requesting to PM, please allow few international flights. And we are ready for government quarantine on any test, ma'am.
You know, the modalities are being worked out at this point. Bhargav, stay on with us. We also have some of our viewers calling us up at this point in time. Mr. Sunil is joining us from Bengaluru. Sunil, go ahead if you can hear me. Good evening.
Very good evening, ma'am. As we all know, our Prime Minister has a very good relationship with all the foreign countries. So as we know, all the foreign countries would definitely safeguard our citizens. They would not live. But my request to the Foreign Affairs Minister and Foreign Affairs would be, please get back our Indians. We all need to fight against this virus. All Indians need to be saved. That's my request.
Absolutely. You know, like I said, several Indians already have been brought back, and there are still those who are stuck abroad. Modalities being worked out at this point in time. Let me also go across to Mahima Gupta. Mahima Gupta, what are the kind of problems that you are facing? You know, there are some challenges in front of the government because of which what we're witnessing at this point in time is a delay in trying to reach out to you.
Ma'am, it's been almost 45 days since the very beginning. From 16th March, we've been pleading the government to kindly rescue us. Our families, our job, everything is in India. My parents are in India. They are sick, worried. And I was supposed to return to India and join as an intern at a government hospital in Mangalore, which has got delayed, because of which my future exams, my complete future has come to a standstill. And the kind of mental agony that we go through over here alone facing this crisis is completely unimaginable. So I plead to the government. This was the first ray of hope that we got today when the meeting was conducted. But I plead to them that they please bring us back at the earliest.
Well, the government, I'm sure, is listening to you, also wants to reach out to you. Like I said, certain modalities being worked out. Let's also go across to Manoj joining us from Coimbatore and Padmini from Bengaluru. I'm being told that Miss Padmini's son is stuck in Hungary. Let's first go across to her. Padmini ji, if you can hear me, go ahead. What do you want to tell the government?
Yeah. I can hear you. My son is there to do his master's in Budapest. And we had actually booked his tickets for the 18th, which was the earliest available. But it didn't go through. I mean, the flights got cancelled in the first leg, so he couldn't travel. And now, since the classes are going to be online till the end of the semester, we were trying to see how to have him back here. But we have written to the embassy there, but we haven't got any response so far. We wanted to check what could be the way.
Well, we hope the government will respond soon to you and to your requests, because a meeting already has been held with the chief secretaries and DGPs of all states. We're waiting for the decision to be taken. Let me quickly go across to Manoj joining us from Coimbatore. Manoj, go ahead. What do you want to tell the government?
Ma'am, I have two kids who are studying in the US, ma'am, and I guess the earlier person told the same thing, that her kid is stranded there. And my kid is in Los Angeles and in Chicago. Both of them are pursuing their masters. I also wanted to find out, how do I get them back to Coimbatore? I'm also kind of worried. And everything as it's online, I guess probably they can go back once the university opens up, probably in August or September. But things right now, I just want to know, how do I proceed? In what manner do I get them back to our country? Because, America, the things are very, very bad.
Well, I guess, for now, sir, all of us would have to wait to see what the decision is as far as the government is concerned on bringing back Indians who are still stranded abroad. And post that, maybe the government will tell us the procedure which needs to be followed. But thank you very much for calling us up. I'm sure the authorities are listening to you at this point in time. Let's also quickly go across to Mr. Anil Vashisht. He is stuck in Saudi Arabia. Sir, I hope you're doing well. What do you want to tell the government? We know that a decision is pending. A crucial meet already has been held.
Yes, sir. This meeting has given us a ray of hope that sooner we would be back in India with our family. And the problem here with us is that here in Saudi Arabia there are many blue-collar migrants who are working here. and most of their work has stopped. For example, restaurants are closed, shops are closed, all the manufacturing items are closed. So those people are really struggling for their living, while the embassy here is supporting them in the best way that they can. However, they look forward to India to bring them back. And from Saudi, almost most of the countries have already taken back their citizens, including US and UK. And even the economies which are far smaller than Indian economies, such as Philippines and Malaysia, they have also taken back their citizens. So the people here are looking up to the government of India that why we are not being considered and why we are not being taken back. This meeting gives us a hope.
Absolutely, sir. I understand you are far away from your loved ones, from your home here in India, and definitely this is a situation which is unprecedented. Nobody was prepared for this. But I'll ask you to hold on. The government is thinking about you at this point in time. Let me take some callers also on the broadcast. Kailash is joining us from Mumbai. Kailash, do you also have someone who's known to you stuck in abroad in a foreign country and wants to come back?
Good evening, ma'am. 2 questions. Number one, yes, we do have somebody in Malaysia, but he's there for last almost more than 1 month and he's not stuck. We have asked him, we have requested him to stay there. The question is, number one, if our Indian brothers and sisters are brought back in India, will they be quarantined for 14 days, which absolutely will be yes. Second question is whether it is advisable for our brothers and sisters to remain where they are and not get panicked, not get anxious. Yes, our country will be doing the needful.
Well,
but
initially, Kailash, that was what the government suggested, Indians to stay where they are, to not panic. But now if they want to come back, modalities are being worked out. Maharashtra and Gujarat have demanded that there should be a quarantine period for everybody who's brought back. Let me also go across to Vinay, who's joining us from Pune. Vinay, go ahead. What do you want to share with us?
Yeah, so hi, good evening. So my 2 daughters, they are currently held up in the US. They are stranded there in the US. Both of them have been there trying. They are OCI citizens, and earlier, so this lockdown got implemented. So all of a sudden, that they could not just do anything. So they went to the Washington DC embassy. They could manage to get their visa to travel. They were booked on the flight on 30th, but the lockdown got extended. Then they were booked on again on 16th of April. Again, the lockdown got extended. So they are all kind of stranded up there, and they're struggling on their survival there, struggling on their daily supplies, finances. They are running with no insurance. The hostels are all off campus. Campus is closed on everything. That is a big challenge, and I guess this is the first time that we are hearing something from the government.
Absolutely. Since when America has recorded the highest number of cases, I understand that you are worried for your kids. But let's wait for the government to take a decision, and then maybe you can follow the due procedure. But thank you very much for calling us up. Let's go across to Shanaz Batliwala joining us from Mumbai now. Go ahead. Is your relative or somebody known to you stuck somewhere?
My husband is in the Merchant Navy. He is on a foreign-going vessel, and there is no news about how the Merchant Navy sailors are going to be brought back to India. He is there on the ship. His contract is expired. There are lots with him who have also expired their contracts, and we have no clue from the government what's going to happen to the Indian Merchant Navy sailors.
Well, there are several individuals like you who at this point in time have no clarity as far as their loved ones stranded in other countries are concerned. But like I've been informing my viewers, a high-level meeting was conducted by the Chief Secretary with all the state Chief Secretaries and DGPs, and soon a decision will be taken. Soon modalities will be worked out. For now, thanking all the viewers who called us up and expressed their concerns. I'm sure the authorities are listening to you. I'm sure they'll try and reach out to you. And also thank you to all our 3 guests who have joined us on the broadcast, and stay safe, stay home. That's all I can wish for you at this point in time, and hope that the government will reach out to you as well soon. A decision is pending. We'll keep tracking that.